Rube, for the most part, it's kind of business as usual at the NovaCare complex this week.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a preseason week. Jets preseason game number 3. A lot of backups getting reps. One thing about this team is their focus is incredible, and it has been throughout the playoffs. It has been throughout the year. It's something Nick has preached since the day he got here, to treat every day the same. The stakes are higher, but the process stays the same, and they've really bought in. They really believe it, and they live it, and they breathe it, and it works. I think it's a big reason they are where they are right now. It gets harder and harder each week, and certainly once that plane lands in Arizona, they're going to see hype and media and attention and distractions like they've never seen. But I think this team's really equipped to handle it as well as anybody. Look, we've both been to Super Bowls. I've been to a bunch of them, and there's nothing like it. And if a team can navigate that, and I think this team can, it gives it a big advantage.
Yeah, it certainly does. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We do have a lot to talk about today. We're going to break down some younger role players. We'll talk about the old guys who have been here for a long time and what their importance on this team is, and some newsy stuff that we have to get to in a little bit. But we want to talk a little more about how prepared this team is, because it's apparent in multiple ways. Like, I think during the games we see it, certainly. Like, that was a prepared team in the NFC Championship game, but I think it stems from just the way they are during the week. And aside from there being like a few extra faces that you're not normally used to seeing, like media-wise at the building, you could walk in there and have no idea this team's about to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think normally there'd be a lot more media here, but they really limit who can get in the locker room, and it's kind of nice. I mean, there may be an extra, 4 or 5 people in there from New York and national publications, but yeah, and Nick's going to do the best job he can of, these guys are sequestered up at a hotel way out of town. You need a credential just to get out to the hotel grounds, or a hotel key if you're a guest, and rooms are like $1,500 a night. And there'll be an hour a day or an hour 15 a day where they do media, and the rest of the day it's just going to be business as usual. And I really feel like this team has a great mixture of veterans. There's still some guys there's a bunch of guys who've been to Super Bowls, not just the one here 5 years ago, but other guys. But even the young guys, and we'll talk about them, but they all seem like they can handle the moment. And I think it starts with Jalen, who is the most, I guess you can't quantify even keel. You can't say someone's the most even keel person you've ever seen, because
I will.
If you're flatlining, you can't be any more even keel than that. And that's what he does. And I think it starts with Nick and with Jalen and the veterans, and they just set a tone of practice, watch film. It's a regular week. Let's go.
Yeah, and Nick even admitted, though, like, all right, next week, it's not a normal week. Like, the schedule has to change because you're not at your own building. So it's about, like, minimizing the effects of that stuff, because, like, you're practicing at different times. You have extra media obligations. You have that, that crazy Monday night media day. Yeah. Media, they still call it media day?
They don't.
They call it media night, presented by sponsor X and X. Yeah.
X and X.
The sponsor, whoever sponsors it.
Yeah, I don't even know if they use the word. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. That's going from being on Tuesday at like 10 a.m. And then I think in Minneapolis it was the prime time. And now it's like you get, like, people buy tickets for it and they sit up in this.
And that's all the wacky stuff. That's like, I remember 5 years ago, it was like JB Smoove, the comedian, running around asking, like, gosh, what was it, like, who would win in a fight, like Uncle Sam, or it was some silly.
I remember
questions like that.
I have a video of,
which necessarily aren't worse than some of the regular
questions. Worse questions here. But I remember Jalen Mills was trying to do a PSA for like a Spanish TV station or radio station. And they gave him, he doesn't speak Spanish, but they gave him a sign, or they held up a sign to read this content in Spanish. And he was like really hamming it up. It was pretty funny. And I remember, gosh, somebody was dancing, like doing like Irish dancing. I can't remember what player they were trying. There was an Irish dancing group that was trying to teach like I forget what player to Irish dance. So that you get that stuff media day. We're not going to get a lot of really serious interviews that night.
Yeah, which is fine. Like it
is fun.
It draws in other audiences. Who do you think is going to be the star for the Eagles on media night?
Great question. I think AJ Brown will be big.
Mm-hmm.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson be the one time he talks, or he won't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It'll be one extreme or the other. He'll either be like on stage, like holding court, or just in the corner, not talking to anyone.
I think Slay will be a big one.
Slay will be big. Yeah.
He'll enjoy that night.
Yeah.
Some guys won't.
That's made for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who's going to hate it?
Isaac.
Oh yeah. Isaac is going to be miserable.
Yeah. Isaac Samali will not enjoy media night.
He won't be reading a PSA in Spanish.
Yeah. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. That's why I talk to him though. Because they all have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, well, I think it'll be the one time Howie probably talks. We haven't talked to, when's the last time we talked to Howie?
Yeah, I was hoping to see him in the locker room after the NFC Championship game. Didn't see him. Talk to Jeffrey Lurie. It'd be nice to talk to Howie.
Yeah, Howie, as soon as the game was over, he was looking at practice squad guys on other teams we can poach.
Might have been.
But I think he's got to be there Monday night.
Okay.
So hopefully. I'd love to talk to him. I mean, he's had such a great year. I guess Final Cuts was the last time we talked to him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't talk when they got Quinn. Usually he talks with his trade deadline move. But when they traded for Robert Quinn, he didn't talk. He certainly hasn't had much to say about him since. So yeah, it was probably Final Cuts in August.
Yeah. And it's like no players can hide in Super Bowl week. It's good for us. Maybe not good for some players who don't prefer doing media, but it's what that week is.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah. I want to go back to their preparedness though.
Yeah.
So I asked Nick Sirianni, like, all right, so what are you doing this week before you go to Phoenix? And I thought his answer was important, that they're trying to install most of the game plan before they leave. That's very smart because of all those things we just talked about that they're going to have to deal with I keep wanting to say Minnesota because that's like Super Bowl's in Minnesota, right? No,
you better check your flight. check your itinerary.
Oh, gosh, I couldn't imagine being more miserable than if I ended up in Minnesota this weekend. But there's a lot going on out there. So I think it's very smart that they are pretty much locking down the game plan and starting that this week because their last bye week, they didn't know who they were going to play.
Right.
Now you know who you're going to play. So get that game plan, install most of it, and start repping that stuff. Start getting ready with exactly what you want to do in the game.
Yeah, and I think that's what most teams do. That's what Doug did. That's what Big Red did in 2004. And that's how you do it. You do all the real work this week, and they have 3 practices. And I'll walk through in two full practices. So it's a regular work week. And it really does. I think it probably gives those guys a comfort level, like they're on top of things, and they'll have plenty of meetings. It's incredible what they do. They have a hotel, like a golf resort out there, and they'll have film rooms. They'll have basically, I'm sure they have trucks driving out there with everything, and they'll just truck out like the NovaCare complex, and they'll put it in a trunk. They actually put the whole building in a truck. But whatever you can do here, as far as breaking down film and lifting, all that stuff they'll have at the hotel. It's incredible how they set up basically. So these guys have every resource they need while they're out there. Their meals, I don't know if they bring the chef out from the NovaCare, but they do, kind of prepare dietary stuff. Like they don't want them just eat hotel food.
Oh, that's certainly not.
Yeah. They have special menus. So it's incredible the planning that goes into it.
Yeah. Nice thing is players don't have to worry about any of that. They try to keep their minds as clear as possible. And I think this is a good group. I don't think there are too many players in there that you really even have to worry about getting caught up with the hype. And I think that changes to varying levels, right? Like I think there are some guys who maybe a little bit to buy into it. And
well, one interesting thing is there's not a lot. There's no rookies. Reed's there's no rookie draft picks that really, other than special teams, that have big roles. And the
Jordan's role has increased, by the way. Jordan Davis's role has increased.
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
He's now playing more snaps than Linval.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about that.
Linval didn't play a lot of snaps. He only played 10 the other night or the other day. Yeah, no, that's one. But the rookies that they have, like, I mean, I just don't worry about them. Jordan's an interesting guy. He was in his locker. I was a few lockers away. This was last week. And all of a sudden he just yells out. He's like, "Wah!" And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he goes, I was just thinking about life.
He was joking. Yeah, I was there. That was funny. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all do. I do it sometimes during the podcast.
Please don't.
I probably do it on the flight out to Arizona.
We talked to Brandon Graham on Thursday. It's fun to see his perspective.
Yeah.
On things. The guy who's been here longer than any other player in the city, not just
longer than almost anybody in Eagles history.
Yeah. You're right.
I mean, 1 year.
He's cutting down that list.
Yeah. Yeah. And he talked about, it took him 7 years to go to one. He said, I don't know if I'd ever go to one. Now I'm going to two, and just how blessed he feels. And talked about his role and just having the best year of his career statistically, maybe not in terms of snaps, but in terms of sacks. Yeah. And with Tom Brady retiring, he really reflected a lot. I asked him about the strip sack and how that kind of changed the whole narrative of his career. I mean, he had become a good player, but even though he shed the bust label, it wasn't until that play that he really became a legend around here. And he just talked about, his license plate. That's his license plate, So he talked about just how it was the one play that really put him on the map. And, I either forgotten or never thought about the fact that there was two Michigan guys on that play, BG and Brady. But it was really interesting to hear him reflect on everything. The first few years of his career when he was considered a bust, became a full-time good player. And then that play in the fourth quarter in that game just, he said it changed his life. And he said, I'll always have that. Whatever happens, or however long I play, I always have that I made that play at that point. And Derek Barnett recovered it. I don't know if Derek feels the same way about it, but recovered it, started running the wrong way. So it was great to talk to him. He talked about how much respect he has for Brady and that kind of thing, and just how excited he is to play in a second Super Bowl. He's one of, they have six guys, depends how you define it, but they're Lane, Fletch, Kelsey, and BG are really the, Sam-All didn't play on offense in that game, and a couple specialists, but those are the core guys who are back, 4 guys, and I just can't imagine getting to the top of the mountain and then getting one step short again just 5 years later. It's really an incredible accomplishment for those guys. Those guys are all-time Eagles before this year, and they're one away from being like just flat-out legends. Yeah,
and if you were to ask them in 2020, hook them up to a lie detector test, do you think you'll get back to another one?
Yeah.
Especially Kels. Like, I didn't think he was going to last this long. I thought he was going to retire. Things were looking pretty bad there for a while. Getting him to come back last year still kind of surprises me a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a bad taste in his mouth from 20, and it was enough to make him want to come back. And I think keeping Stout, if they don't keep Stout, he's gone, I think. If Nick isn't Nick, I think he's probably gone.
Or if a head coach wants to bring his own O-line coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was the year after that last game that Carson, Kelsey, and Ertz were on the field together for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them ended up, two of them ended up being back the next year, one of them for part of the year, but Kelsey's the last man standing. We'll talk to him tomorrow. It's like living history. It's like those guys are like, if they weren't playing, they'd be in an Eagles museum if there is one, but they're still playing. And they're all, you can make a case that BG's best year, first time in double digits. Kelsey's playing, I think, as well as he's ever played. And Fletch is probably having his best year since 18, playing way better than he did last year. So all 3, and obviously, I don't put Lane really in that in that group because those are the 3 Andy Reid guys. But Lane's having as good a career, as good a season he's had with that injury. So not only they're all back and all still here, but they're all playing at a great level.
Yeah, they are. I was watching the NFC Championship game mic'd up segment, and Fletcher was mic'd up for it. One of the things that was kind of cool rewatching that, and because I gave Linval a ton of credit for scooping that ball, and he still deserves it. Fletcher the whole time yelling, pick up the ball, that's a fumble, that's a fumble, that's a fumble, telling the refs, that's a fumble, telling Nick, that's a fumble. Like, it was it was, as much as Reddick was very demonstrative and saying, no, I got him, Fletch was right there with him.
Good for him. Yeah.
Very heads up. Very heads up.
Veteran guy.
Yeah.
And that's the value of having guys like that. Crazy that they cut him and brought him back. What a weird story that was. But yeah, that's the value of having guys like that. And that was a huge play. I mean, the game was still obviously in the balance at that point. We didn't know how badly he was hurt. So yeah, that was huge.
You mentioned the 3 Andy Reid guys, and you wrote about this, and I kind of wrote about it the week before in a way, that the trenches, and really it's amazing that Andy Reid brought that philosophy to Philly in '99. And like, the philosophy remains, but 3 of the players remain, which is, who would have ever thought?
Yeah. And now Andy's got to try to beat a team that he helped create. It's just it's just, there's so many connections that are so tangled up. And I mean, those guys all feel like they owe their career to Big Red for drafting him. And, how he was officially the GM, but I think they were all Andy Reid picks. I can't wait to hear what he says about those guys out in Arizona, because I know they all mean the world to him. I mean, Fletch only played for him 1 year, Kelsey 2 years, BG 3 years. BG's the only one that went to the postseason with Andy, which is crazy. The guy went to the playoffs with. He's
also the only one to really have 2-a-days.
Yeah.
He'll let you know that too.
Yeah, he will.
That he got in before that 2011 CBA.
Yeah. So he's been in the postseason under Andy, Chip, Doug, and Nick. What a career. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Andy Reid and the Chiefs. We'll really break down the matchups next week when it's game week. Early thoughts on them, though, because that's obviously they won the same amount of games as the Eagles this year, and they did it very quietly.
Yeah, I think they're just, everyone's so used to them winning 13, 14 games every year. As good as Andy was here, he's a much better coach now. He's a better game day coach, game management coach. You learn a lot in 14 years, what not to do and what to do. And I mean, he's winning at he's got like the highest winning percentage. If you take it just as a Chiefs coach, like, I think he's second to like some guy who coached like 2 years and won 2 championships in the 20s. He's catching him. He's almost getting. So the body of work he's put together in his career in 24 years, but in 10 years, he's been there for only 4 years less than he was here, which is crazy. They just don't lose many games, especially since he got Patrick Mahomes. So they're so talented, and they, the names keep changing. I mean, they get rid of guys leave, and they just still store the 30 points a game.
Yeah. Having 15 helps. He's a special player. And I know Philly fans are going to get tired of hearing about him, because some of it sounds like hyperbolic. Like, he can't really be that good. He's that good. He just is. I think the game plan is like not try to stop him. It's try to slow him down. Really.
Yeah. Yeah,
think about they lost Tyreek Hill in the offseason, and the offense got better.
It did. I know there's people that think that they're better because they don't have them, and they're a little more varied. And I think Pacheco's been huge for them. Another South Jersey running back, Vineland High School. Was he undrafted or late round? Seventh round pick. Yeah, the names keep changing. And there was a quote from Travis Kelce. He said, he was asked about that, and he said, Andy could get my dad open.
Ed Kelce?
I can't remember.
I think it's Ed and Donna.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there's a Kelce on either team. I can't believe no one's talked about that yet, huh?
Yeah. They didn't even mention it on their podcast too much.
That's got to be one of those storylines that by the time the game comes around. All
I'm
right,
already
no
sick
more,
of
no
it.
more Kelce's.
Yeah.
I think even the Kelce's will be like, all right.
But the cool thing is, I mean, they're both Hall of Fame type players, which
They're both great. That's the more fun argument. It's like, which one is the greater all-time player?
Yeah. I mean, Jason had a little head start. I mean, he might be the best tight end ever by the time all said and done, and Jason might be the best center ever.
It's not crazy.
So how do you break that tie?
I mean, Travis will get more acclaim,
and Andy Reid drafted both of them. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you know who else coached Jason Kelce? My cousin's son, Kyle Gisser, was a soccer coach out in Cleveland. So I think he really had a lot to do with where he is now.
Yeah. Jason will thank him in the Hall of Fame speech.
He might. I wonder who's gonna like induct him. Who's gonna
Stout?
Think Stout?
Yeah.
Could be Travis.
Oh, it could be Travis.
Could be Lane. Could be Evan Mathis. No, it won't be Evan Mathis. Yeah, I don't know.
That's funny that you bring up Evan Mathis, though, because that's one of my earliest memories. Like when I hear about Kelce and Andy Reid, and Kelce hates bringing this up, or when anyone brings this up. But you remember the day where someone had that Fire Andy sign?
Yeah.
Out front of the NovaCare complex, and Kelce and Evan Mathis coerced the man to take down the sign.
They saw it. They kept driving down Patterson. They turned around and went back, and the guy held his ground. The guy was like, "No, he sucks." And it wasn't even in 12; it was in 11, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
They were 4-8 at one point. They won the last few games, but yeah, he's actually out there now saying "Fire Nick."
I remember that was like I look back at that and like, all right, misguided way to go about that, but tells you a lot about Kels.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I don't know if I told you the story about when they were 4-8. I think I wrote a story saying, you know, they got to fire Andy. He's had a great run. Got to fire him at the end of the year, not at 4-8. And Andy calls me aside after like practice the next day or something, and I read your column. I said, no, I'm like, oh, shoot. He goes, kind of I would have written it too, I think is what he said.
Okay.
He said, I would have written it too. So sure. I see where you're coming from.
Maybe Jeffrey should have read it.
Probably should have.
Because
a year too late.
Yeah.
But who knows? Everything would have been.
Yeah, you're right. Everything works out for a reason. Yeah. And but I'll never forget that press conference. Jeffrey going through all the reasons you should fire Andy, and then at the end going, but we're keeping him.
Upon further review.
Yeah. That was a weird press conference.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He really laid out every reason why he should fire this man, and then said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. He was right the first time. But anyway, we're way off topic.
But so I brought up those difficult decisions that Jeffrey has had to make and kind of relishes making in some ways. That's one he didn't make, and I bet you he regrets that. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out, but right. I bet you he regrets that in hindsight. Like given like where he is right now in his life, he would have made that decision.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the Chiefs? Eagles are going to need to score points. I think they can score points.
I think their defense is susceptible. It's not a great defense. Mm-hmm. Eagles certainly have an edge in that they have young corners. I really like that matchup. And, you know, I wrote a piece suggesting that the Eagles, I think you can run on them too. And they gave up 4.5. They're giving up 6 yards a carry to postseason. That's the highest ever by a team that reached the Super Bowl.
Might not be an awful idea to run on them either.
Yeah, but I do think you can throw on them. I think they'll be more balanced because I just think I don't know if you can go toe to toe with them offensively if you're running the ball 70% of the time, which they've done.
Yeah, then you had the argument though, if you're running the ball and you're moving the sticks,
and he's not on.
Guess who's on the sideline?
Yeah, no, there's certainly different ways to look at it.
I don't think that's the reason you do it,
right?
But that can be a nice byproduct.
I think they're going to have to make more plays in the passing game in the Super Bowl than they have against the Giants and 49ers. That's fair.
This is also not as good a defense,
right,
as the 49ers.
I think you can throw on them. And I think you can run on them. I think they can score some points. I think this game is going to be played in the 30s, in the high 20s and low 30s. So, yeah, can't wait. It's the Nissan Thrill of the Drive event. So gift yourself what you really want this holiday season and shop your local Nissan store or visit nissanusa.com today. Just like the holidays, these offers won't last.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sportsbook. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves the gambler. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. We got some news on Wednesday that was very troubling. Josh Sills, undrafted rookie offensive lineman, was indicted on one count of rape, one count of kidnapping in his home state of Ohio. We'll see where this ends up. He was placed on the commissioner exempt list, so he's not in the building for practice. He wouldn't have played in the game anyway, but he's not going to play in the game, won't travel with the team. So he's basically in another category, off the roster for now. Troubling stuff, though, and for a guy who's been on this team all year, and this incident stems back to 2019.
Yeah, and I'm no legal expert. It seems weird that it would have taken almost, 3.5 years for it to come out. But Brandon Graham probably shouldn't have talked about it, but he did, and he did say that the team knew about it. He did allow that, or he said they probably knew about it. He speculated, I guess, but it's disturbing. Without knowing any details, it's hard to even know what to say about it. But they did the right thing by getting him out of the building. He played 4 snaps all year. Ironically,
they didn't even do it. The NFL is
right. Well, they would have. They knew that was going to happen, but they would have. Played 4 snaps all year in Arizona on special teams. So, it's not ideal timing a few days before you're flying to Arizona for a Super Bowl, but he's not a guy that played. He was undrafted. He wasn't a draft pick. Played at West Virginia and then I think Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. And O-lineman. He was a captain of the team at Oklahoma State. But really beyond that, he's not with the team. There's an open roster spot that I would think they would fill in next week, and somebody on the practice squad, maybe Sue Opeta, maybe Aaron Sipos, and go from there.
Yeah, my big question is, when did the Eagles know, and what do they know? When they all those questions are important to me. If this investigation was ongoing, did they know about this, and to what extent did they know about it when they signed him?
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair questions. What did this team overlook to sign an undrafted guy who's not even going to play for them?
Right. Also innocent until proven guilty. We don't know any details. There could be things that they know about the case that made them comfortable.
Reading through the police report, though, it's troubling.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think there are questions about the Eagles and how they handled it, and if they handled it correctly.
Yeah, that's fair. And Dom D'Alessandro is the guy who kind of looks into all these guys, and he's really good. He's really thorough. He's a vice president now. Howie's assistant, not personnel wise, but like assistant to the general manager or something. And Howie thinks the world of them, and they're really good at this stuff. So it's possible somebody slipped through the cracks that way, but it's really confusing to me why something that happened in 2019, there's only an indictment in 2023. I don't really understand the legalities of that. Maybe that's normal. Maybe that's common. But it just seems odd to me.
Yeah, the police report was pretty soon after.
Yeah.
So their investigation for whatever reason took a long time, and the indictment took a long time. But it also, for the guys who are on the team, you wonder what that does to them. Even though Josh Sills wasn't playing, they talk about the brotherhood, and this guy's in meetings with them, and if they didn't know about it, or if they didn't know all of it, it's got to be quite a shock for his teammates, you would think.
I would think. I also think he was an undrafted rookie who didn't play, and I think it's different if it's somebody that's got a big role that you're counting on, who's I just think it's different. But yeah, it is. It's troubling, and it's disturbing, and all those things. Whether it has an effect on the team, I just don't think it will.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's fair to wonder if it's a little bit of a distraction. It's not Super Bowl week yet, and obviously that's not the. There's a potential victim in all this, so that's not the biggest worry.
Absolutely.
But when we're flipping it back to football, it's like, will it have some sort of effect? Is it a distraction for the team? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think guys are going to be asked about Josh Sills all week in Arizona. But hey, they could be. They could become. I mean, we know how it is out there. It can be the wild, wild west out of that media day and those interviews. Yeah. So unfortunately,
like the people who need to be questioned about it from the Eagles franchise have not been available for comments. And we're talking about the head coach, the GM, the owner, like the brass.
Yeah.
Those are people who eventually need to answer some questions.
Yeah. We won't talk to Nick till Monday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be asked about it.
I would think so.
Yeah.
All right. Let's flip back to the game. And we have an over-under number here from PointsBet. It's a pretty high one in this game. 50.5 total points in this game, Rube. That's a lot, but it kind of makes sense. You have the number one scoring offense or number one scoring team in the league and the number three scoring team in the league.
And the number two defense. So, but I think it's a fair number because, like I said, I could see this game being like, 30-27. 29-26, to be under 50.5. It's possible. If I was a betting man, I would take the over.
Yeah, it is such a high number. So I looked this up.
I love that you did over under research.
I did it. It's a fun tool in the Pro Football Reference Stathead. 56 Super Bowls. 21 times that over would have hit. So 37.5%. In the last 10 years, 6 out of 10 would have been hitting that over. And there have been 12 over-unders set higher than 50.5. 5 have hit the over.
How often does the over win versus the under all-time Super Bowls?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. I thought you did your research, but that's okay.
You're going to ask me any question I would know at all?
I'm just curious. Yeah. By the way, StatHead is the greatest site on the internet, bar none. What you can find on that site is astonishing.
I really like NBC Sports Philadelphia.
That's a good one too.
But StatHead's a close second for me.
That's fair.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I think it will be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I do too.
The Eagles' last Super Bowl would have crushed that over-under.
Yeah.
74 points in that one. Their other Super Bowls, 45 points in 2004-05, and then 37 in their first Super Bowl.
There you go.
Yeah, fun stuff. It's time to get your swagger back with PointsBet Sportsbook. PointsBet, it's your move. Where we talked about the old guys, let's talk about some of the young guys because this is a good mixture of a team, but they've been relying on some younger players, and I'm excited to see how they handle the biggest stage in the sport.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The rookies aren't really playing. The rookie draft picks aren't really playing, at least on offense and defense. You mentioned Jordan Davis.
Been playing more.
A first-round pick. I'm intrigued by guys like, Reed Blankenship, Kenny Gainwell, whose role has expanded so much since the regular season. All these guys are really kind of have a good head on their shoulders. I don't see any. Nakobe Dean's a guy that plays a lot, but he's like the most grounded, guy you'll ever see. All those guys, even like
special shout out to Nakobe Dean, by the way. I rewatched the Trent Williams thing where he threw Kayvon.
Yeah.
First guy in his face was Nakobe Dean.
Yes, he was.
And Nakobe is a third of the size of Trent Williams.
Trent Williams probably has him by over 100 pounds.
A lot.
Yeah.
Give Nakobe credit. He was right in his face.
Yeah.
First guy in his face.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciated that. I'm sure Kayvon appreciated that. That's just, young defensive guys. But yeah, I really feel like they're all They all carry themselves like veterans. They're around really responsible, mature veterans who know how to act, who've been through this, who know how to behave, and they just follow along. And they're most of them are just quiet, business-like guys, and it's unusual for a young group.
It is. I talked to Kenny Gainwell a little bit about that today. I was like, where does that come from for you? Because he mentioned to me, he's like, I don't get, moment doesn't do anything. I was like, how? He's like, I was born that way. Just bloodlines. He looked over Fletcher's locker.
Yeah.
Their cousins.
Right.
It's just born that way. Okay. That's a good thing to have because not everyone is.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. He's an impressive kid. I like talking to him. He's so confident. Mm-hmm. He carries himself, and he has since he got here, like RB1.
Oh, you know what? So we were talking about him the other day, and I wondered aloud a little bit if he's put on extra weight.
Yeah.
He has.
Yeah.
He's over 200 now. He said he's around 203, 205. And he said he sees it on tape. It shows up. Like, not that he wasn't running hard before. He always runs hard, but like it matters when you have a little extra behind that running hard.
Yeah. He's tougher and more physical than I thought. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably because I don't think he's just put on weight. I think he looks
you
really
got to put it on the right way.
Right. I think he's going to be a big part of this game.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to think about that because sometimes a guy comes out of nowhere. I always think back to Deion Branch.
Yeah.
Being an MVP of a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Guys sometimes come out of nowhere and just have a big impact.
The Eagles had a really similar thing in 92, I guess it was, where the main running back all year was the guy from Georgia. And Heath Sherman late in the season had some big runs and had some big games. And in the playoff win that year, which I guess was in New Orleans, he had over 100 rushing yards. And guy from Georgia barely played. And Herschel Walker. And it was really kind of a similar dynamic. But I think the difference is that Miles' production hasn't ebbed. It's just been that they're better with two good backs rotating.
We don't have to go back that far. I mean, Corey Clement, he was like an okay player during his regular season rookie year, but
right at the end of the year, started making some plays.
I think there's a lot of parallels between Corey and Kevin.
Late round, undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Kenny's in year 2.
Yeah. But they were both 23. Mm-hmm. Corey might have been 22 that year. I think he was 23. That group of running backs, it's incredible with, it started out with LeGarrette and Smallwood, I think, was number 2 when the season started.
Yeah.
And then Ajayi comes in at the trade deadline, and I think his first game had
Kenyon.
And Kenyon Barner, who's mainly kick returns, but he had some good runs. In the Super Bowl, those guys combined for like over 250 scrimmage yards. Of course, Corey's were all receiving.
100 yards receiving. Still the craziest thing ever.
Craziest ever. 2 of the greatest pass plays in Eagles postseason history. Eagles history. I mean, we talk about the touchdown with 3 guys around him. But, I mean, the 55-yard run to set up the Philly special. If he doesn't make that play, there's no Philly special. Mm-hmm. And he broke like 8 tackles. And he wasn't even a receiver. He caught like 8 passes at Wisconsin. Anyway, we're way off the rails. But
you're
I'm way off the rails. That's fair.
I'm firmly on the rails.
The point is, there's always that X factor that you don't expect that really makes it fun. I mean, it could be you could have a guy go off the field for a helmet issue. And remember when Rasul played 1 snap in a game and had an interception like inside the 20?
Yeah.
And he just went off the field because somebody's helmet broke or something. And that really makes it a lot of fun. You never know who it's going to be.
Yeah. Zach McPherson?
Could be.
Milton Williams, who looked tougher tests this week. Interior of that Chiefs line's pretty good, but Milton played out really well down the stretch. Always a candidate to have a big play.
We'll do that before the game. We'll do, like our wild card players.
Patrick Johnson off the edge.
Could be Patrick Johnson.
I like thinking about these things.
And he's a young guy. He's another young guy we don't really talk about, but really solid guy. Good head on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. Moment's not too big for him. He won't feel intimidated or overwhelmed. He'll go and do his thing.
Yeah. All right, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, next time we talk to everyone, we'll be in
How
Phoenix.
about that? Next podcast, should we tell them our plan?
Sure. What's our plan?
We're going to do a podcast every freaking day out there.
Oh yeah.
Every day.
Don't know when they'll be coming out.
Yeah, the schedule's weird.
Be able to record them, and the time difference makes it weird. But we're gonna do a ton of pods.
Yeah, some days
from
we might
Phoenix.
do 2, maybe 3. We're just
I
keep doing it.
I don't know when we'd find the time for that, but we will do a lot of pods out there. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click a like button, subscribe there as well. That's it. We'll talk to you from Phoenix. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan.